about HR? Do I need a drug testing policy? I mean, so, you know, while I love to espouse the virtues of entrepreneurship, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And your story is everything. Your story is everything. And I love talking about storytelling because I am a storyteller, and that's what I'm sort of hung my hat on here. It matters. Your story is what you stand for. It is how you are going to raise capital. And it's become its own thing. Like you read about storytelling all the time in the New York Times or in the Atlantic. Being able to tell your story is how you're going to create your culture. And it's a very, very challenging thing. When I was raising money for a company called, well, it's called My Political DNA, and if you haven't heard of it, well, there's a reason for that. And I got an opportunity to go pitch Brad Feld. Do you guys know who Brad Feld is? Have you heard of Brad Feld? He's kind of like this well-known venture capitalist in Boulder. And he works for a company called The Foundry Group. He owns it. And he started Techstars, which is the big incubator program in Boulder. There's one in Seattle. I think there's one in Boston. And I worked really hard on this deck because I really believed in this idea. And it was keeping me awake at night. And I knew I could sell him on it if I could just tell my story and tell the aha moment and all of this. So I worked on the deck and I sort of like thought about the financials, but not too much. And I went to present it to him in Boulder, and I was all in a suit, kind of, you know, felt very grown up. And Brad Feld steps out, and he's wearing a Bart Simpson t-shirt and Birkenstocks. And I give him my deck, and I'm ready to make the presentation because I want to tell my story. And what does he do? What did venture capitalists do when you give them your deck? They skip to the end. They skip to the end and look at your financials, and mine were a wreck. I mean, they were terrible. That's changing. That's changing today, and you know this, Mr. Chris. It's changing because of crowdfunding. Crowdfunding and your story are linked together. If you want to raise money, and even Brad Feld would say this today, your story is the thing. You no longer lead with your financials. And if you don't have a good story going out on Kickstarter, it's not going to work. Is everybody familiar with all the crowdfunding platforms and the storytelling? And investors now, I was just in Silicon Valley a couple of weeks ago, and